Here's Guy Wehman, Ben Brunson, and Frank Vernuccio inside the news.
Welcome back to our last segment of Inside the News. Glad to have you with us. Ben Brunson's in the bottom middle. Frank Vernuccio's in the top left. I'm in the top right if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're listening to us across the country on our affiliates, thank you so much. Tell the owner or the general manager of that radio station, say thank you so much for carrying Inside the News. Whether it's a Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon, thank you so much for listening and thank you for carrying us. Okay, Frank, gun sales are up dramatically. Ammo sales, they're almost out of the roof to the point where ammo is in short supply. We just talked about crime in the last segment. We've got hot button topics, but people are just gobbling up warfare. I mean, not warfare, but guns.
What a surprise when you defund the police, when you're soft on criminals, when you're letting them out of jail under any excuse that you can come up with. The citizenry takes rational steps to protect themselves, their family, and their property. What does anyone expect the citizenry to do at this point? But again, in the great cities of the United States, in New York and Chicago and a few others, the Second Amendment doesn't exist. And it's not just the right to own a weapon that is being attacked. It's the right to defend yourself that is being attacked. Those are two similar but different things. We are seeing a case where citizens don't have the right of self-defense. They are being told that you only can rely on government to defend you. You are totally a creature of and the property of the state.
Okay, Ben, just briefly, because we're running out of time here, just briefly talk about the security issue with China and Hong Kong.
Well, China has implemented the security law that brought millions of Hong Kong residents to the streets in protest, the protests that have been going on for most of the last year. It has now been implemented by China. So essentially, Hong Kong is no longer independent at all. The freedoms that Hong Kong people have enjoyed, Western-style freedoms that they've enjoyed under British rule and for the last 20 years are now gone. China has put their thumb onto Hong Kong, and it's over for Hong Kong. They are essentially no different than any other part of China at this point.
All right. Hot button topics. You have a little bit longer time here, Frank, but what is yours?
Well, Guy, there are times in the course of history when sanity gives way to madness and evil prevails. The Spanish Inquisition, the Salem witch trials, the aftermath of the French Revolution, the rise of Nazi Germany. These are examples of madness. We are in the midst of such a period. Irrational forces, when confronted with truths that contradict their warped worldview, respond with hatred and violence. We are told that America suffers from systematic racism, yet there is not a single existing law, regulation, or government procedure that tolerates discrimination. Attacks on the innocent characterize such dark periods, and we are seeing this in Atlanta, where a police officer who sought justifiably to arrest a convicted child abuser who was stopped for his second drunk driving period was assaulted by the perpetrator, who stole the officer's taser and fired at him. The policeman did precisely what he was supposed to do and fired back. In the aftermath, in the madness and hatred perpetuated by the current climate, the officer is being prosecuted for murder, and the child abuser criminal is eulogized as a martyr. We are in an era of insanity.
Okay, Ben, you have a little bit longer time on your hot button topic. What's yours today?
I'm going to go back to China that we were just talking about. And it is ironic that China, that has complete power over its citizens, where it monitors all its citizens. It gives citizens a social credit score based on how well they conform and toe the party line, which means they can never speak out against the Communist Party or the Communist Party rule or any of the leaders. And if they do, they are punished. And if they do it repeatedly, they disappear. They get arrested in the middle of the night. They're taken off somewhere. They're tortured. They might be released one time. The second time they're arrested, they usually just disappear for good. So they're executed somewhere and it's over. They maintain concentration camps with millions of people in those concentration camps. And yet that same regime, I'm a pet lover, I'm a dog owner, I love pets. That same regime now says they can do nothing. They tried to stop the pet festival, which goes on every year in a city in China where dogs are butchered for their meat. And these are beautiful animals being butchered on the streets for their meat. But the Chinese government says, well, they tried to stop that. They did their best, but they couldn't quite make the cultural change. The lunacy of the Chinese Communist Party. They can control whatever they want, and then they claim, oh, sorry, we tried, couldn't stop that. This is the country that we're still dependent on. We are buying our stuff from. That needs to absolutely change in this country.
All right, that was Ben Brunson, the author of the Falstaff, Enigma, and Esther Sling. You can find Ben at benbrunson.com, amazon.com. Frank Vernuccio, he's with the American Analysis of News and Media. You can find Frank at usagovpolicy.com. He's also the voice of the Minute Report for America. Thanks so much, Frank.
Great being with you.
Ben, thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to all our listeners.
And until next week, we will catch you again next week as we once again go inside the news.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.